Hey, what's up? So it's about 7:40 in the evening on Monday, 11/26. Looking back at the day, had one losing trade today, so -10, and then a no trade, and then traded the markets a little longer than I should, and had another -10 trade, which should have been a winner, but my patience wasn't there. So I want to go through and talk through those trades that I took and the trades that I didn't take to hopefully learn from them. So again, excuse me, I'm still dealing with this junk, but again, we're looking to always keep our stops really tight at 10 and our targets pretty focused at 15. So yeah, right now we're just grinding away, making sure we're learning every time we make a losing trade or a winning trade or no trade. So that's the point here this morning. So this was the first opportunity I saw this morning. I didn't trade this because it was before I actually pulled up the charts, but you had a nice high here. And so as we look back, we have a 1, a 2, and 3 into that zone. So I marked up the entry or the signal candle. The only problem I'm seeing with this is when I click through it, the signal candle is not above 90 on the stochastic, so it's at 83. But 2 candles later, we did get above that 90 level at 96. So then now that's our entry, that's our signal candle, and this becomes our entry candle. So this would have been a 45 entry, 55, looking to get to, or 45 to 35 to 30, looking to 30 for 15 points, and you get it pretty quick. So nice one there. Excuse me. Along the way, we did put in a range here, so it would have been a good idea if you were in the trade here to really have your discretionary target kind of back to the middle of the range, which it actually ended up doing. So good lesson there. So the next trade is actually one that I did take. So now we formed this level here, which is at the, let's see, this is at the 47 level, 0.47. So that's what I was looking at for an entry. I did have this one recorded live, so make sure you look at that, and you can see how fast this moved. This took about 2 seconds to fill that green candle there that I'm just ticking over to. It went about 10 cents. This one took another less than a second, and this one took less than a second too. So in the matter of 4 seconds, it popped straight up to above that level. Now, looking in hindsight, as I look at the video and see how fast it happened, that should have been a quick clue, quick giveaway that it was too strong. It's what's called a short squeeze when it moves that fast. So it's really just people, all their stops getting hit simultaneously. And so you see this candle appeared almost instantly, where 800 orders just got filled in an instant. And then I tried to come in and buy there, which I was already too late. And a second thing to look at is this signal candle wasn't over 90. But again, this happened all so quickly, I literally didn't even have a chance to look down at the stochastics, even though back on this candle, I was like, all right, we're going to look at the stochastics and make sure it's above the level that we need it to be. I didn't look at it. I jumped in here, got stopped out literally probably 10 seconds later. So -10. It continued to go higher to -20 and -30 before it pulled back a little bit, and then it continued to fly even higher. So that's the importance of that 10 tick stop. So looking back on it, I used this as a signal candle here, which is true, except it didn't fit all our criteria, right? Because this candle, even though it closed above that prior level at 47, it didn't have the stochastics above 90. In fact, the stochastics were super reasonable. They were at 80. They weren't extended. And then the reason that when it moves so fast, that's the other sign that you can't just get in and short a move that's strong, that quick. So the best way to handle it would be just to take a step back and not even trade it and then see what happens. Instead, I let the emotions get the best of me, where I jumped in here, fearing I would miss the move lower, so I jump in and then immediately pop, I'm out. So a tough lesson to learn, but it's a good lesson to learn while we're trading small. And we know that when we're stopping out at 10 and targeting at 15, we're going to be all right in the long run. So anyway, that's the way it goes. This would have been another option here. However, we didn't get the 2 try into that level at 69. So that wouldn't have been a trade either. So this should have just been sitting on hands and letting it go. So it ended up moving quite a bit higher, which validates the reason why you stop out of these trades. So then the next level I was eyeing was this level right here, this white line, which is at 04. So I thought that would be a good area because it's around a whole number. We want to see it reverse there. The problem is we never got a close above it. We tagged it once and we went above it but didn't close above it, so I didn't get the signal that I wanted. And even though it worked, that's the danger of the hindsight trading, is you can't just say, oh, it worked that time, I'll just trade it next time, because the next time you trade it up here without seeing all your signals fire off, and then it just continues up to 52.20, 52.30, and you just get stopped out. So trying to be diligent on these. All right, so we put in that level here, and we made a higher high here, relatively speaking, so this would be another validated level. But again, I didn't trade this one up here. I also didn't trade this here because I didn't get the signal, but this would have been the signal candle here, but it wasn't above 90, so you couldn't trade that. This would be your signal candle since it is above 90 and above a close above the line. So then that would be your entry candle, and then you would stop out. So say you got in at 08, you would have to stop out at 18, so you probably would have got ticked out there. So the reason that probably wouldn't have worked is that point isn't far enough back in the future. So it's not a very strong validated point compared to the others. So you could look at this as a 1, and then put your ticker on, or put your text on here, and you say a 2, right? So you'd be 1, 2 above that prior swing level. Except this is it's just too close to use in this case. And this is also that same kind of situation we had down here where it was too strong going into it. So you had to give it some more room before it pulled back. So that's the way it goes. So we had the levels at 29 and 38 that I was looking at. It only got up to 25, and so that's where it kind of turned around. We then had a 1 and a 2, and so then again I was looking down at this level here, but it never got to it. So kind of frustrating as you sit and watch these when it never gets to the levels that you need it to. Pretty choppy today, actually. Pretty good learning day. Now you're seeing this gray area that I marked up because we have now a double top here, and we've had a couple bottoms in the same area. So now we have a range, and so when I went to trade this here, that's the reason that it didn't work, is because we had a range. So I was looking at this level here, using this level here, so I kind of had my eyes around this 69 level. The problem is that looking back now is that it was a range, and I don't want to trade the bottom of that range. I want to trade outside the bottom of that range and trade it back up into the range, which actually did end up working beautifully. But I took the trade here and was impatient, and it closed, and you see it didn't close below this line here. So that would actually be my close below, so that would be my entry candle. Now, it depends on where you would have got this. Say if you got 61, you would have been okay. So 61, you would have had to stop out at 51, which is way down here, which you never got ticked out. But if you got 62 or above, you probably would have got ticked out here at the bottom before it continued higher to make that 15-point move. So that's why that bottom of that range is so important. And next time you just, you stay away from this area and trying to trade this right here, because you can see it just didn't work. So what I would what I'd really like is to find another level lower, even use this level here to trade it back up long, back into the range. Because remember, when there's a range and it breaks out of the range, it always tries to go back into the range, or usually tries, I should say, not always. So what we should be looking at is this 50 level, this line here, and using this line as well. So I'd want to see it below this. It's probably 51-ish. And below this 51 level, with the close below, with the stochastics lined up, everything, good to go, and then trade it back into the range, and then it's exactly what happens. So then you have your pullback here. So you have a 1 technically, and a 2, and a pullback, and then you have a 3. And here's your candle that's closed below, and your stochastics is nice and low. So now I buy into this candle here. A little bit of patience. This is going to work out. Promise you that. 48, and then you shoot back up right into where you need to be at plus 20 or plus 15. And then that discretionary target for the future would be here somewhere in the middle of this range, right? Which it ends up, I believe, getting up back up to. It's right there. There's your discretionary target. So it all works out. Even though I took a couple losses today, they're good learning losses. One being, you can't trade the moves where it moves 20 cents in 3 seconds. You guys kind of take a step back, and you don't trade the bottom of a range or the top of a range. You can't use that level because it usually wants to break out of that range strong, and then you find another level below the range to trade it back up in. And the same thing goes above the range too. You wouldn't want to trade this level here. You would want to trade one of these levels up here to trade it back into the range. So good learning lessons today. I think it was a really valuable day looking at these charts and learning, making sure we're following the rules and the checklists. So checklist, again, would have made me a winner today, but I didn't follow it. So that's why I was not a winner. Prior swing point identified, valid 1 to 2 tries, don't use double pops and bottoms, so that would have protected me from one loss. Something happened here. Stochastics above levels. I'll just say stochastic levels. 1090, that would have protected me from the other earlier trade, because the other earlier trade, if you remember, the one that moved really fast, which I actually have a video of how fast it moves, this one here, we never got the stochastic signal above that level, right? So the stochastic signal was not there and was not there. Really, you probably want to use that. The first candle that closes, that needs to be your signal candle, and the stochastics need to line up. Like, I wouldn't be able to say, oh, my stochastics lined up here so I can go ahead and trade it, because again, that took your loss. Still the same loss, minus 10. The real kicker on this is the speed at which it flew up into this zone, into this area. Literally probably no more than 5 seconds to go from here, 22 up to 52. So a huge move in a matter of seconds. You can't trade that. That's way too strong, and you can see why. It continues higher. I'll stop rambling, but the one up here that we talked about, let's see why it didn't work. The reason that this one wouldn't have worked, or it could potentially work, but let's see. We did not have stochastics here on the signal candle. We did have it here, but again, I want stochastics to be at the levels that I need it to be at that signal candle there. And it's not. It didn't fit the rule right here. It didn't hit that. It didn't hit that box. And the reason I didn't take this one, but the reason that you could have taken this one would be that in the past you've seen it go here and stochastics be not as high as you need it to be, but then it immediately turns around. So that's that hindsight trading that can get you in trouble. Let me look at this one a little bit. So if that's not my entry, that's my signal. If that's my entry candle, I'm probably going to get stopped out because I'm not going to get great pricing. 08 up to 18. I don't know if it ends up getting up there. Yeah, you would have been stopped out. So it would have been pretty frustrating because I just got stopped out here. If I were to take that one again without the stochastics, then I would have gotten stopped out again right away, which was pretty frustrating if I would have taken it. And then just understanding on this, actually, the second trade I took, that this is the bottom of a range because we see a point here, we see a point here, we see a point here, we see a top point here, and we see several candles hitting in the top here. We're a lot of congestion up there. So we can't use the bottom of this range. That's off limits now. So that would have saved another minus 10 there. And then the real trade of the day is the 2-try move outside of this major area, outside of the range. So this becomes a really good area right here, right? Which it ends up using beautifully. And it becomes a stress-free trade, right? Because as we look at it, I'm looking to close below this level where my cursor is, so 51, looking to close below that 51. That's the first close below the 51. Candle closes, stochastics lines up under 10. I just simply buy the next candle at 48. My stop moves up when I get to 58, and I get out at 63. So literally a matter of 5 minutes, you've got your trade. You really only need one of those a day to be successful at this. That's the thing. It's the hardest thing is actually waiting for that perfect setup and being patient. My mindset all morning is, well, I got to get a trade in. I got to get a trade in. I got to get a trade in. Why am I not getting a trade in? I have to get a trade in because I need to make money. And that's the problem with, having that kind of forceful mentality up front to having to get the trade and to having to make money when their setup's not there. It's not perfect. So we blew that one out. This one we didn't trade, which ended up being good. And we blew this one because it was the bottom of range and we missed the perfect opportunity. It was a little late in the morning for me. I probably wouldn't have been trading there, but I would have been a lot happier if I had taken none trades because they didn't fit my checklist and made $0 rather than losing on 2 trades at 10 ticks each. So that's the way it goes. That's it for tonight. Have a great evening. We'll talk to you later.